The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified health provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk.
Welcome. This is Birth, Baby. Your hosts are Sierra Morgan and Samantha Kelly. Sierra is a birth doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant.
Samantha is a birth doula, childbirth educator, and lactation counselor. Join us as we guide you through your options for your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey. Thank you to our listeners for your continued support. If you enjoy our content, please be sure to like, follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. This helps us gain visibility to other people that could benefit from listening in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Birth Baby. Today in our registry episodes series that we are doing because Samantha needs to know what to put on her registry after not being a mom for a while. Well, she's been a mom, but a new mom. We have Jes Gannon, our resident postpartum doula, who we love so much. And she is here to chat with us about bassinets, cribs, and all the things that your baby's going to sleep in. So thank you so much for being here today, Jes.
Hello, I'm glad to be here again. Thanks, y'all, for having me.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you. I'm excited for you to tell me what I'm supposed to buy for this baby because, gal, I really don't know. I spend all this time Googling and it's so confusing and there's so many things and I should know more because I do this for a living, but I don't. And so I assume if I don't, then none of y'all do either.
You are lost, Sam. We aren't in people's houses postpartum because we're more birth doulas. So that is where I feel like the least educated. Yeah. And so this series has been very eye-opening for me.
Yeah, even people talking about baby monitors, which maybe we need to talk about that in a future episode too, because there's all sorts of feelings on there. But people are like, no, you can't have that because then people can hack in. I'm like,
hack in.
What do you mean they can hack in? What?
I know.
Look, they can hack in on everything. Let's chill about it.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyways, okay, so back to baby bed sleeping. To start us off, can you tell us a little bit about why you would or would not recommend just putting a baby in their regular crib to start off with?
Well, yes, because usually cribs are put together in a nursery down the hall. It's recommended that babies sleep in the same room as parents for up to a year. Now, that doesn't work for everybody. And I'm here to tell you, and no one's judging you if you decide not to do that because babies are loud. So
I moved my son out when he was 5 weeks old. I moved him out at 5 weeks. Every little noise he made woke me up. He had to go.
They do. And I actually, in my newborn and postpartum care class, I do an impression of all the noises that babies make while they're sleeping, because people are like, oh my gosh, no one told me, and people
That's
are
a fan favorite.
How could I possibly need a doula overnight when I'm breastfeeding? Because your baby's loud. So
crazy, you guys.
So in the room is better. You are going to hear a lot more of the sounds, but I'll tell you that because of anxiety, you're probably going to want that baby close anyway. So basically a bassinet is your best option for those early weeks, months. And people usually just want to put the crib together because they're like, oh, I'm so excited. I want to do the crib, and that's fine. But you're going to use that later, possibly. So bassinets are the best. I will say there's a lot on the market and I've used many of them. I don't always remember the names, but they have them on a swivel now. Like the kind that will the top,
like a halo.
Yeah, halo bassinet, and they pop the top part of the bassinet pops off with a little clip, and it's honestly pretty easy to use. And I've had a few clients with that one, and I really like that one because maybe it's not the best thing to do to carry babies around in a bed, but if you got a spotter and that baby's real sleepy, you can move that bassinet real quiet, calm, to another place if you needed to, or pull it.
If you've got a spotter, just cracked me up because it gave me a really good visual and it brought me back to the Friends episode where they're trying to move a couch and they're in a hallway. And he's like, pivot!
Yeah.
Sorry, that is not applicable, but that's why I'm laughing.
No, it's fine. But those tend to have a really wide base. The legs kind of make a big Y, weird. I honestly hate that part. It's a little bit of a trip hazard next to the bed. but there's pros and cons to everything, right? So
I had that one, and my con about that one was the legs are so big and wide that actually, because of how the bars were under my bed, I couldn't really fit it in the bed under there where I wanted to. It kind of made it so I couldn't. So I guess depending on what bed you have, that can be a little difficult too.
Yeah. And also just like the bars probably aren't going to go all the way. And then when you're walking around to get baby, they go really far. Like, again, pros and cons, but that's a dad problem, not a mom problem. So just tell dad to watch his feet. But yeah, so I like the kind that come off a little bit. They swivel because you can have baby next to the bed and just kind of swivel them over a little closer to you if you need to grab them. Also, the halos have this really neat feature. Like the top kind of like comes down, like it's like a top, the top is,
like bendy,
a circle, and then it kind of goes, so it's like you can lean into it, pull baby out, and the top goes down a little bit. So that's kind of cool, right? If you're
it's like a spring.
I have a story about this though.
I
have a story about this. So my daughter, who, if you've heard me talk about her on the podcast, she's a wild one, full of energy, full of life. We love her to death. She's 6 now. But when she was probably 6 weeks old and sleeping in our halo, which I absolutely loved for all of those things, it even had a little light on it that I could turn on in the middle of the night when I was breastfeeding, so I could just like get her on and not have to like worry about other things. It was great. She, from a very early age, figured out how to rotate herself in this bed, like psychopathic behavior from a 6-week-old. She would rotate herself to like vertical, and then she'd lift her legs up and bang them on the little swivelly thing because it went down and it didn't hurt her. So she'd sit there doing that. So she got kicked out of the halo really early because I felt like maybe that was a hazard.
Well, that's really funny. Just sleep consultant nerd alert. That's something that babies do when they're about to fall asleep, or it's like a stimulation thing and whatever, and they do. But it's crazy, and I'm not surprised that Briley like found a way to make it ruin your life.
Would turn herself fully 90 degrees and then just like trampoline it, which now she does like the same psychotic behavior when she's going to bed at 6 o'clock. She like gets out of bed. There's a whole situation happening there, but
it was a premonition.
It started from a young age.
Yeah. It was a little
so
preview of what was to come.
Maybe don't get the halo Bassinet. But anyway, so we love the halo, and they have, all of them have different kinds, different features or whatever. But if you don't have a foot banger, the sidebar thing might work well for you. So I'm a huge fan of bassinets. I will say, be mindful of the sounds that your bed makes. I recently had a client and she was like, I just bought this really cute bassinet. I loved it, but clearly I was only going for aesthetics because it is made of wicker and it would go in and out. Like baby would, be like wicker sounds every time baby's going in and out of the thing. And luckily for this baby, it didn't bother her. But she said that with her first child, the wicker sounds would just be like waking baby up, ding, immediately. So keeping that in mind, if you're going to get one of those cute, like Moses basket style things, we love that. But think about what it's made of and the sound that it might make for you. People don't think of this stuff until they have to spend night after night with newborn babies,
Yeah. I have a question about the Moses baskets from you safe sleep people too. So the Moses baskets, for anybody who doesn't know what they are, it looks like the basket that like Moses from the Bible was like floated down the river in, basically. Yeah. It's like a full basket, and most of the time they have like fabric coming up the sides and stuff. And so I've always wondered about those. Are they considered safe for sleep or not?
Technically, no. If they have anything in there besides a bed, like a mattress that's got a fitted sheet, and that's important because really what we're looking for is making sure no material is able to come over baby's face at all. So even like a kind of a wonky sheet, that might be a little bit of a hazard. And
I have a little this is a tough one though, because if it's part of the wall of it and it's a tight fitting fabric along the wall, it's safe to put a baby in a literal like plexiglass square container, like the baby box. So
I guess that's true.
As long as they're not rolling and like getting close to that edge, that's a tough one. You stumped me a little bit.
I think you just have to look at your Moses basket and read about the safe sleep things.
Make sure it's not loose material.
Right. Yeah. It's hard too because those Moses baskets are sometimes like a hand me down. Oh, my grandma gave me this. She slept in it. La-di-da. But like, we weren't worried about safe sleep back in those days. Babies were not living as long. So let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's just thank grandma for her cute bassinet, store your baby clothes in it, and maybe get yourself, a one that's on the market right now. It's a little bit safer.
That's a really good point too about safety, because some people do have these hand-me-down beds and they want to use them. I had a client who her mother had her bassinet, crib that got passed down to her, that she was like, oh, you should use this. And it had like paint on the bars that was chipped off from a baby chewing on it, AKA her when she was little. And like, what kind of paint was that? Exactly. And she had to, so the grandmother lived out of town. And when she came into town, they set it up just to like let her think that it was being used. And then they deconstructed it to bring it back down. But you have to think too, not only the paint wise, you have to think about the bar separation that it was back then, whether or not they move. Yeah, they move up and down. So when you do go over to a crib, making sure that it is an updated crib, because even me, I have 7.5 years between my kids and the safety standards changed even in that amount of time. So any sort of hand-me-down, make sure that you go and do kind of like that recall notice type thing, search on it.
Low-key mad though that we don't have drop leaf cribs that are like still allowed, because that is so clutch for
the drop side was cool.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Not safe anymore.
It's fine. It's fine. It's 2025. We can make our arms stretch or something.
Somebody's going to ruin it for everybody. So anyway, back to the whole bassinet versus crib. I think bassinet, or for the early days, it's just a lot easier. Baby's smaller. And one thing too that I have to say about beds, just because I know a lot of parents are listening, making sure that your baby's sleep environment stays consistent as you can is very, very important. So if you're like, it's fine. I mean, it's fine if you're doing contact naps in one bed, but you can't do multiple beds, multiple environments. That's going to cause problems that you won't even realize that's the problem. It takes a professional like me or Sierra to come in and be like, well, actually, this is what to do.
Yeah, so often that happens. Yeah. So often people hire us for like sleep consulting or something. And I'm like, oh, where do they sleep? Blah, blah, blah. Well, during the day, they're in, a crib or a bassinet in our room. And at night, they're in a crib in their room. And like, oh, well, no wonder they're, or if you have a postpartum doula coming, even from the very beginning, making sure that whatever you're sleeping with them with 4 nights a week, the 3 nights a week that the doula is there or whatever, making sure that the doula is having that same sleep environment. So if you have a bassinet in your room, move it into the room that the doula is going to be in.
You guys, I've carried a lot of beds upstairs with dads, okay, at the beginning and the ends of shifts, because that's how important it is that your sleep environment stay the same. Even the firmness of the mattress can make a difference to the baby. The draft in the room, like all of these things play a role. So if you are having those issues, think about the sleep environments. So the reason
blowing my mind right now, you guys, the things I never thought about. I never knew this.
You have us. At least you have us when that baby comes. We're going to have a little doula hotline just for you.
This baby has a lot of moms.
Yeah, for sure. So just the bassinet's just easier to move around the house, no matter which one you have. And that's why I'm a huge fan. And while we're on the subject of bassinets, I've got to give a shout out to the SNOO bed. So I know it's a pricey item. It is very expensive if you buy one outright, but I want to say a couple of things about it. The resale value is amazing, and you can rent one straight from SNOO. And on renting SNOO beds, I also want to say, if you're going to rent one, do rent one from SNOO. Other places rent them. That's fine, I guess, but they don't have the same guarantees and warranties and all sorts of things that SNOO offers. So if you get a bed that I've had that happen, a client had a SNOO bed they rented, and I noticed halfway through the night, the bed was only going one way. And I was like, this isn't really ideal. And so she had to send it back, get a new one. But because it was with SNOO, it was easy. They were like, in 2 days, they had a new one. So
why do you like the SNOO? What is it?
I know. So here's the deal. I'm going to be honest. When I first saw this SNOO bed, I was like, this is absolutely barbaric. What are we doing to babies? Because it looks, if you Google it, pause the podcast and Google it, and you'll be like, I see what she means. But this is the safest bed on the market. Full stop. And here's why. The baby is sort of strapped to the bed. It does look like a straitjacket. I know, it's terrible. But buy one of the cute ones with like stars on it or whatever, and you'll feel a little better. The white ones are horrible. I'm like, why? Why? If the bed has these straps that click in, and if that swaddle isn't clicked into the mattress, you can't make the bed move. So the wonderful thing about the SNOO is that it uses the 5 S's, or as many of the 5 S's as the bed can do automatically, the Harvey Cart 5 S's of soothing babies. So it sways the baby. Swaying is one of the 5 S's, and it does like a very slight little movement with the mattress, which is why baby has to be strapped in when using it, because it's not safe to just have a baby like wonky on a mattress, right? And your baby can't roll when they're in the SNOO swaddle because it is attached to the bed. Even if they have arms out, even if they are able to roll, they're not able to. That's why the SNOO bed goes up to 6 months. Another thing about this, I feel like we could do a whole podcast just on this, but
hey, SNOO, you want to sponsor us?
Yeah, seriously, you should, because this lady is a big fan. So there's a weaning function on the SNOO bed that happens at 6 months automatically. I don't recommend that you wait 6 months. By 6 months time, your baby is so deeply into their sleep associations, it's going to be very hard to get away from that. So I actually recommend that you do that process around 2 to 3 months, because we're kind of past that window of like baby needing like a ton of motion and mimicking the womb for sleep. And we're moving into like, okay, I'm outside, we're fine now, I can, manage, and you don't need the motion as much. And that's a time when babies are a lot easier to introduce new things to. At 6 months, they're like, this is what we're doing, and I'm going to make your life living HELL if you try to take me away from my
don't mess with my stuff.
6 months. Yeah, and it's really hard. And the wean function, actually, all it does is the bed does a slight little movement all night, and when the baby cries, it senses the crying and it'll kind of move faster. The sound of the white noise kicks up. And so it'll shh the baby back to sleep. And you don't even have to get up, which is wonderful because it helps baby connect their own sleep cycles where parents don't have to get up and do things. Most parents get up and think, oh, baby's awake, they're hungry, got to do the whole thing. A lot of times it's not true. A lot of times your baby's just wiggling around, making some noise, and they need to get back to sleep. They don't need to get up and get their diaper changed and do the whole thing and get burped and fed. And, but parents are doing that because that's what they think they're supposed to do, So that's why I love the SNOO bed. It's just a wonderful option. I don't know.
So it sways or swings, kind of. It shushes. Yep. And it has this feature. So I've actually had clients where they have from the beginning started on the one where it like does very little, like the weaning kind of function. And they've only done that to where, yes, I think even on the regular way, tell me if I'm wrong, you use it all the time. If you are using it as the baby starts crying and louder, it starts going up to higher and higher and higher and higher. And it like goes really fast. So you can put a limit on how high you let it go.
So in the app, you can stop the bed at any level. I recommend stopping it at level 2 because level 3 and 4 are crazy. Literally, babies are like this in there. And I'm like, who did that? Like, whose idea is this?
It's for children like my daughter.
Yeah, she might have loved it, actually. Some babies do need that much input, but most of them don't. And I find that when they're little, it's very jarring. So, and most parents are like, what is this bed you told me to get? So do keep it at the lower settings because it's just a little bit gentler. But I didn't finish about the weaning function. We got so excited. So I want to go back to that. But the weaning function, what it does is it'll do this for a bit. And then after a certain amount of time, it just stops. And now your baby's just still for the rest of their sleep. So that's why at 6 months old, that's going to wake them up probably. But when they're littler, it's going to be a hard week, but it's not going to be as bad as when they're 6 months old. So that's that. The thing about the SNOO bed is it's not highly accessible to a lot of people, but the rental is. I don't know exactly. I probably should have looked it up, but I think the rental is about $150 a month. So if you are trying to budget and figure out where you want to put, things or what high ticket items you want to have on your registry, 3 months of the SNOO bed, you will thank me later, friends.
And I happen to know it is FSA, HSA eligible. So you can also use it for that.
Okay.
I talked about Baby List on this registry already, so on this series already, but Baby List has a fund that you can have people donate to for these things. And then also Marketplace, I see SNOOs on there all the time for like $400 to $500. And they're holding their value. So you could buy one and resell it later.
Yeah. And the other thing is people are like, ooh, a baby bed. I don't know. But the thing is, the way the SNOO is built is it's so like I've had babies like throw up in it and it go down in the crevices of the bed. But the thing is, your new next baby's not going to touch that part, right? Like it's in there, and you might have to take it apart to clean it, but it's very easy to clean because it's just a little thin mattress that you take out, and then it's plastic under there. You can wipe it out, all that stuff. So I know some people might be grossed out by secondhand items, but I mean, it's a great option for sure. And it has resale value. So you could buy one for $600, use it for 3 months, sell it for $600.
At one point, we even considered, Jes, like she said, hated it at one point. She was a postpartum doula for my agency, by the way, for anyone listening, if you're like, why do you know so much about her? But the first client of ours that had a SNOO, she's like, screw this is weird. And then she became in love with it. And then she was like, her next client didn't have one. And then she was like, Sierra, maybe we need to like rent them out. Maybe you should buy a bunch of them and we can rent them out to people. Yeah, so I was like, well, that seems like a big liability. I was like, that sounds like a big liability. So maybe not. She's like, maybe they just get one when I'm their doula. So we can use it. She's like, life is just easier when we have a SNOO. So if you had to rank them, of course, number one sounds like it would be the SNOO. You're like, hands down, if you can afford it, if it's doable, do the SNOO. And then next would be like one of the swivel bassinets, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, the swivel thing is just a preference if you like that idea or not, but definitely I would just say bassinet, really. Any bassinet that's new on the market that is following guidelines. I also feel like I need to say this because if you're listening to this, you're putting stuff on your registry and you want to know, marketing is the thing. Okay. A lot of companies will tell you this is safe for sleep. This is anti-colic. This is that. No, they're not. Let's talk about colic for 1 second. I know this is a bad episode, but colic literally means we don't know what this is. We don't understand why babies do this. We've named it colic. We don't know why. They're crying. We don't know why. Anti-colic, if you're going to anti something you don't know about, that's crazy. Yeah. It's BS. Don't believe it. So just to keep that in mind, right? Like anything that's marketing to you that's going to solve some baby problem that we've had for years and years, we weren't just missing some product on the market. It's just that babies are hard sometimes, and products are not going to solve your early parenthood issues. It's just, it's not going to solve them. It might make them easier here or there. Yeah. So with that said, it's like, so the beds, the bottles, all the things, keep that in mind, right? They're trying to sell their products to you. So if they're saying it's safe for sleep, they may not be, the nap nanny. Does anybody remember the nap nanny? Yeah. It was like this crazy, weird shaped thing. And it was, all the rage for like a minute. Everyone bought one. They're like $600. And then
it was really dangerous. I had one, by the way. I never put my baby in it but somebody handed me down one and I was like, this is great. Like to put them in while I fold the laundry. But like that's another, no, I'll show you a picture of it after. It's like a big foam thing with like a dip in the center and a belt.
Yeah.
I have
terribly. Yeah. And the thing is, they'll tell you these things and say, here, but you literally cannot leave your baby unsupervised with many of the sleep products on the market.
DockATot, those sorts of things too. So I wanted to add that here because some people are like, but why aren't you mentioning anything that you can put in the bed with you? Well, because those aren't considered safe for sleep. So a DockATot or a Snuggle Me or any of those things are not considered safe for sleep. So that's why we're not recommending them here. And then as far as cribs go, I mean, if a crib is on the market right now, it's probably considered a safe for sleep on the market one. Yes, there's difference in like mattresses. We're not, that's all personal preference, but as long as it's considered safe for infants, you want to make sure it's an infant safe crib. But that's why we didn't really mention a whole lot about cribs here too, because they're pretty self-explanatory.
Well, it's the thing, like she said earlier, it's the bars. There's a lot of things to consider when they decide whether it's safe or not. But the main thing too, because this is a bad episode, we'd be remiss not to mention it, but baby mattresses are firm.
Yeah.
That's the only way for them to be safe. Trust me, I hate it too. Nothing like setting a sweet, warm, sleepy baby on a hard mattress and them going ding. And you're like, okay, here we go. But that's what it is. Now, the thing is, some of the bassinets, cribs, you know what I mean? That's why I say this, the sleep environment needs to be the same. So if you're using a bassinet during the day because it's easier and you're all around the house, and then you're trying to put the baby in the crib at night, it's not going to fly. Yeah. So keeping that stuff in mind, it sucks. I really wish that we could invent a soft baby mattress that was safe, but I'm sure someone would have done it by now if it was even an option.
If it was actually safe.
Yeah. So,
well, this is so helpful.
I would do 1,000 more of these episodes. I love talking about baby products. It's my favorite.
Well,
great.
so what are you going to get, Sam?
Well, I think I got to get my husband on board with the SNOO, man. We're going to add it to the registry.
I'll take it to schedule a call with me. It's going to give me 15 minutes.
David, this episode is for you.
Yeah. My last newborn care class, I had 3 couples. One of them had a SNOO and was asking a lot of questions about it. And this class was so locked in. You guys, it was amazing. They stayed like an hour late just to do like Q&A. And I was like, this is the best. Anyway, so we were talking about the SNOO bed for a while. By the end of the conversation, the other 2 families were like, we're getting one. And one of them had also described it as barbaric. And I was like, no, trust me. Hear me out. So anyway,
it's
too bad.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say,
you said it's too bad.
Too bad we're not affiliates. Like, it's too bad we don't get a kickback for people buying.
Yeah. We did, honestly.
That would be a big commission.
Do they have an affiliate code here?
I have no idea. I guess I need to figure that out.
Okay.
We're getting on it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jes. This was so helpful. And we will see you guys next week for our next registry episode. Bye.
Yay, bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us on Birth, Baby. Thanks again to Longing for Orpheus for our music. You can look him up on Spotify. Remember to leave a review, share, and follow wherever you get your podcasts. See you next week.